Today, His Excellency, the Hungarian Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Péter Szijjártó, will speak in an exclusive interview with Roya about the Amman Security Colloquium, the relations between Hungary and Jordan, and other affairs. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for being here with us today.
Thank you very much for the invitation again.
Thank you. Could you tell me what is the purpose of the Amman Security Colloquium and what contribution is Hungary giving to it?
Well, if we speak about security-related challenges nowadays in the world, unfortunately, I have to tell you that we are living next door to a war. My generation in Europe had to live a couple of years under communist regime in Central Europe, and then afterwards we fought, or we hoped, that we would never have to experience what our grandparents did have to during the Second World War. Now, unfortunately, this became a naive illusion, since we are direct neighbors to Ukraine, where the war has broken out back almost more than eight months ago. And unfortunately, instead of speaking about how to make peace in the region, how to resolve this regional war, the discourse is mostly, in Europe at least, is mostly about escalation. And this is something very regretful. And when it comes to the Middle East, you know, whatever happens here has a direct security impact on Europe, among them in the Central European region as well. So when there's unrest here, when there's a growing threat of terror, that always has a negative impact on European security. And handling or managing or being faced with two parallel security-related challenges, that is for Europe kind of unmanageable. So that's why for us, Europeans now, it has an utmost significance that there should be peace in the Middle East region.
Jordan and Hungary have always shared great cooperation in various fields. Could you tell us about Hungary's support to Jordan and the Caritas visit that will be within your current visit schedule?
Look, we understand that the wars in the neighborhood put a lot of burden on the shoulder of the Jordanian state and the Jordanian people in the meantime, because of having a lot of refugees from the neighborhood. This is something what we know as well. Since the war in Ukraine had broken out, there have been 1 million refugees from Ukraine entering Hungary. Of course, not all of them stays, but for those who stay, we offer jobs for the adults, and of course we ensure equal access to healthcare and to education for the children. 1,300 schools and kindergartens in Hungary have already enrolled refugee kids or students. So we really definitely take this seriously, this responsibility of ours. And you know, when it comes to Hungary, we have been a Christian state for more than 1,000 years. And being a Christian state means that we definitely feel responsibility for the Christian communities in need all around the world. And we all know that here in Jordan, the Christian communities are treated very well. We all know the commitment of His Majesty and the government towards ensuring level playing fields and improved circumstances and level of standards for all communities in Jordan, including Christians. In order to support the Christian communities and the Jordanian state as well, we made an agreement with Caritas Jordan that we support the operation of their hospitals in a way that we ensure Hungarian-made medical equipment to be delivered to their hospitals in order to help them and in order to put a little bit off the burden from the shoulders of the Jordanian state.
Since the beginning of the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, many EU countries have imposed sanctions on Russia. However, Hungary has blocked some of these sanctions from taking place, such as the bloc's oil embargo. Could you tell us about that, and how does that affect your relations with the US and the rest of the EU countries?
Well, I have to tell you that the sanctions, which have been introduced by the European Union on Russia, have failed totally. It's a total failure. Why? Because I remember the expectations and promises which were attached to the sanction policy. It was said by the European Commission that the sanctions will help us to conclude this war as soon as possible, and it will bring Russia's economy on its knees. Now, what's the outcome? Totally the opposite. The war is becoming more and more brutal. Now more than 8 months. Yes. Takes more than 8 months. And in the meantime, European economy is suffering very, very badly. So European economy faces tremendous energy crisis, tremendous inflation, skyrocketing commodity and food prices. And I have to tell you that we Hungarians, as being in the neighborhood, we feel very severe impacts. So imagine last year, Hungary, on a national level, had to pay 7 billion euros for all the energy imports, 7 billion. This year, we have to pay 19 billion. Wow. And if the forecasts are right, then next year we will have to pay 29 billion, which means that within 2 years, a 4 times increase, from 7 billion to 19 and then 29 billion, that's huge. And this is the outcome of a failed sanction policy. So instead of sanctions, I think European Union should concentrate on how we can help to bring peace finally to the region. And of course, peace will only come through discussions, through negotiations, and this is what we are advocating for. But the problem is that basically we are the only ones in Europe who are arguing in favor of peace. For the Americans, it's, I would say, more simple or easier than for us because they are an ocean away. But we are, in the neighborhood. So if escalation takes place, then it's the neighboring area which is being at risk. Not the Americans, but us. So, Hungary is the only country in Europe, one of the very few countries, almost only, which does not deliver weapons to Ukraine. We are the only country which does not take part in the European Union's training mission for the Ukrainian army, because simply we think that these measures would contribute to escalation instead of bringing peace. And we don't want this war to be escalated. So we think that reopening the communication channels would be very important. And we all know that it is a naive illusion that it would be a Ukrainian-Russian talks based on which this whole war would be resolved. We all know that American-Russian, let's say, discussion should take place. And I also would take the liberty of mine to say that we would need a real leader. And if President Trump had won elections in November 2 years ago, then this war might not have been broken out. That's how we understand the situation. So we hope that an American-Russian talks based on I hate will take place, and then that might help to bring peace and to bring this war to its end.
Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orbán once said that imposing sanctions on Russian oil would have the effect of a nuclear bomb on your country's economy. Could you tell us more about that?
Oh, absolutely. The issue of energy supply is very simple because it's a physical issue. Yes. So it's not ideology, it's not politics. Ideologically, you cannot heat, right? So, it's a physical issue. You need a source and you need a delivery route. You need an oil field or a gas field and you need a pipeline. If you miss one of these two, then the whole thing is about dreams. So, it's a physical question. Hungary is now being supplied regarding oil by Russia through a pipeline, which can cover our demand. Now, if this pipeline is being cut, we have no replacement to that extent at least. The alternative pipeline has a much less capacity. So basically, if there's sanction on oil generally, from Russia to European Union, including Hungary, then we can't supply ourselves. Same with gas. The only safe pipeline, gas pipeline, which delivers gas from east to west and has no disruptions or technical problematics, is the so-called Turkish Stream pipeline, which delivers the gas from Russia through Turkey, Bulgaria, and Serbia to Hungary. So if there's sanction being imposed on gas, then again, the possible replacements, the possible alternative routes simply do not have the capacity to bring enough gas to Hungary. So it's so simple. It's so simple. And to be honest, I'm always shocked to what extent our European colleagues are being deeply involved in ideologies and lost in political approach, instead of having a very clear physical approach to this issue.
You're right, Your Excellency. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It was great having you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.